In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 practical and actionable tips that you can use to stay consistent with your fat loss diet. It's literally my job to help men burn fat, transform their physique, and subsequently stay consistent with their diet. And these 6 tips that I'm about to share with you have been very impactful for not only me and my personal fitness journey, but also all of the men that I've helped transform as well. So my promise to you is that by the end of this video, you'll have more tools to help you stay consistent with your diet so you can achieve your fat loss and physique goals. Now, tip number 1 is to never go to the grocery store hungry. And this is one that I had to learn myself multiple times before I picked up on what was happening. You see, I'd show up to the grocery store hungry and I'd buy some extra snacks. I'd buy some extra food that I didn't really need. And then what do you know? We're midway through the week or towards the tail end of the week. I'm a little tired, a little hungry. Maybe the day wasn't the best day, whatever it might be. My mood is a little low. And then I start snacking on those extra snacks that I bought, right? And it's because I was so hungry when I was in the store, I was thinking with my stomach, not with my head. And the same will happen to you. If you show up to the grocery store and you haven't eaten in a few hours and you're hungry, or potentially you're even ravenous, which is definitely a big mistake, you'll just end up buying way too much food. And throughout the week, you know those foods are gonna be in the pantry, in the fridge, or in the freezer. And when you have one of those low moments and you have a moment where you want to self-sabotage, because we all have those moments, you're going to go to that food, you're going to eat that food, and then you're going to potentially derail your progress. So before you go to the grocery store, just get a solid meal in you, stay hydrated, and create a grocery list before you go to the store. It's one of the very simplest things you can do to make sure that you're not buying extra snacks and extra junk food. Create a list of the foods that you need, the foods that you want, and then after that, don't buy anything extra. Stick to the list, and that's really going to help. Now, tip number 2 is to plan ahead for social events. Most of the men that I speak with who are struggling with consistency with their diet, one of the biggest problems that they're running into is during the week, they're fine. When they're in their daily routine, they're going to work, they're going to the gym, they're spending time with the family. It's easy for them to stay consistent with their diet. But what happens is whenever they get out of that routine and they have fun things to go do in their life, they kind of just say, fuck it. And they end up eating whatever, maybe having a few too many drinks and derailing their whole progress for the week simply from that 1 or 2 days where they were off track for social events. And so you have to plan ahead, right? You have to have a solid game plan moving into those social events so you can stay consistent. What I like to tell my clients is to just eat their normal meals throughout the day, but reduce the amount of carbohydrates and fats that they're consuming by 50%. So keep the protein exactly the same. If you normally eat 3 meals throughout the day, keep your proteins exactly the same, but reduce your carbohydrate intake by 50%, and then reduce your fat intake by 50%. That way, when you go to said social event, you have a little extra wiggle room and you can still fit in some of those foods that you like and still have it guilt-free, right? Which is a huge part of this. Consistency with your diet and transforming your physique is about integrating your diet into your lifestyle, not saying no to every fun thing in your life and living like a disciplined monk. Now, tip number 3 is to not restrict your food choices. You don't have to eliminate foods from your diet, and you don't have to eat the same boring meals every single day to get to your fat loss goals. You do have to eat the right calories and macronutrients to reach your body composition goals, but you don't have to give up any of your favorite foods. And in fact, I always encourage everybody to be flexible with their food choices and learn how to incorporate some of their favorite foods into their daily calorie and macro goal, because this is the key to longevity for most people. When you're able to be flexible with your food and you're able to interchange different food choices and you're able to have some treats here and there without going over your calorie and macro goal, it becomes much easier to stay consistent long term. So if you're somebody who's on a really restrictive diet right now, I highly recommend starting to change things up, implement different foods, get creative with the meals you're eating and the snacks that you're having. Just make sure that you're still hitting your daily calorie and macronutrient goal. Now, if you want a few different meal ideas and different recipes that you can follow to get flexible with your food choices, you can click the link down below in the description and join our free community where you're going to get access to a flexible dieting cookbook that'll give you different meal options, different ideas, and things that you can incorporate into your diet to get more flexible with your food choices. Now, tip number 4 is to eat high volume, low calorie foods that help you feel satiated and satisfied. Now, the reason this is so powerful is because when people fall off track with their diet, it's typically for one of 2 reasons. Number 1 is that they let their emotional state get the best of them and they use food to cope with whatever emotions they're experiencing. But another big reason why a lot of people fall off track is because they can't deal with the hunger. And look, hunger is a natural part of the fat loss process. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you'll never be hungry during fat loss, because that's a lie. But there are different ways that you can strategically structure your meals and your food choices to be fuller for longer, so the hunger levels are decreased and the cravings are decreased. So for me, that's foods like white potatoes, sweet potatoes, multiple different vegetables. I like to add salads to some of my meals as well, so it just helps me stay fuller longer. I also love treats like low-fat popcorn. These are great because you can sit there and watch a show or a movie at the end of the day, and you can snack on a bag of popcorn for a while without really eating that many calories and that much carbs. So those low-calorie popcorns have been huge for me. And then another big thing recently over the last 6 months that I fell in love with is the Ninja Creamy ice creams. I do 1 scoop of protein powder, 1.5 cups of Fairlife milk, and then I play around with different toppings like Nutter Butters, sometimes some dark chocolate chips. And I like to eat that at the end of the day a lot of the time as well, because it's very voluminous. That recipe that I just shared with you turns out to be so much ice cream, and it's delicious, and it takes a while to eat it. And by the time you get through that entire serving, you are full afterwards, and you're full for a good while afterwards. So if it's in your budget, I highly recommend getting a Ninja Creamy and starting to implement those into your diet. My clients love the Ninja Creamy. I love the Ninja Creamy, and you will as well if you get one. So tip number 5 is to stay hydrated and drink 0-calorie drinks. When you aren't at an adequate level of hydration, you end up having more cravings than normal, you feel hungrier than you really are, and you're more susceptible to snacking or just going over on your daily calorie goal. So staying hydrated is going to help keep your stomach fuller, and it's going to decrease some of those cravings as well. Personally, I also love to add in 0-calorie drinks. I usually have 1 to 2 0-calorie drinks per day. This can be like Coke Zero. Sometimes I get diet root beer, sometimes I get diet cream soda. It really just depends how I'm feeling that day. But typically 1 to 2 times per day, I have a 0-calorie drink because it curbs some of that sweet tooth that I have, and it helps me stay a little bit fuller, which leads to less cravings, which leads to more consistency and adherence for the diet. Now, before we move on to the 6th and final tip of this video, for those of you who are watching this and you're not really 100% sure what your calories and macros should be, or if you're not sure how to break through a plateau you're currently at, I highly recommend checking the video I have linked down below in the description, which is a complete breakdown of our proven transformation process that we call the Beach Ready Blueprint. This video is going to teach you exactly what calories and macros you should be eating and how to go through each 3 phases of the transformation process correctly so you can achieve your goals. So if that's you, once this video is over, click the video I have linked down below in the description and go check that out. Now, our 6th and final tip of the video might sound funny to some of you, but it's to brush your teeth multiple times a day. I'm not just talking about when you wake up and when you go to sleep, I'm talking about after your meals as well. The reason this is so impactful, because think about how many times you brushed your teeth and then immediately wanted to eat something after. Almost never. I know personally, after I brush my teeth, the last thing I want to do is eat food because it messes the taste up of the food. My mouth tastes fresh. I don't want to ruin that right away. And I'm sure most of you probably feel the same. So after a meal, if you feel like you still want to keep eating, like you're still a little hungry, maybe you got that extra sweet tooth, simple hack, just go straight to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and I'm telling you, it's going to change those hunger cues. Something in your brain changes and you just don't want to eat anymore. So that's going to wrap this video up. Until the next one, guys, keep pushing, keep persevering, and keep it positive.